What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz, the dope. All right, man, look. Jarrett Hurd versus the Charlos. After Jermall Charlo lost to Tony Harrison, Jarrett Hurd had an interview. And in that interview, Jarrett Hurd said that Tony Harrison spoiled his plans. And his plans were to be the first to beat Jermall Charlo, then move up and defeat Jermall Charlo. Hence why we're having this discussion. Can Jarrett Hurd beat both Charlos? First thing I want to say is the whole Tony Harrison beating Jermall Charlo thing and the Jermall Charlo and Jarrett Hurd fight being kind of like boosted up. So the plans, really, it was set up for Jermall Charlo to face a guy that Jarrett Hurd already KO'd, and that's Tony Harrison. And Jermall Charlo were to beat Tony Harrison, hopefully look better than Jarrett Hurd did in doing so. So the fight between Jarrett Hurd and Jermall Charlo be a bigger fight that everyone is really salivating about, because that was a hype fight. You saw after Jarrett Hurd came back and had his victory, Jermall Charlo jumped in a ring and said that that was his belt, okay? So they were already hyping the fight. Tony Harrison, who was KO'd by Jarrett Hurd, beat Jermall Charlo by decision, and it kind of spoiled that. This is how I feel. Remember when I see this less of when Mike Tyson was going to fight Holyfield and Buster Douglas spoiled that. I see it more so like when Zab Judah and Floyd Mayweather was going to have their fight and Baldomir beat Zab Judah. Floyd Mayweather still took the Zab Judah fight because styles make fights. The fans still wanted to see that fight with Zab Judah and Floyd Mayweather. So Floyd Mayweather still gave the fans what they wanted, took the Zab Judah fight. It was a close fight at the beginning. Floyd Mayweather pulled it out. And then later, Floyd Mayweather went on to take on Baldomir. I think Jarrett Hurd can do the same thing in this situation. Take on Jermall Charlo, though Tony Harrison beat Jermall Charlo. But in this situation, we already know what Jarrett Hurd can do to Tony Harrison. He already KO'd Tony Harrison. So, and Tony Harrison is actually calling out Kell Brook. So I think the Jarrett Hurd and Jermall Charlo fight can still happen, and it can still happen next. This is how I feel about that fight. And then we'll talk about Jermall Charlo versus Jarrett Hurd. I'm trying to give as a complete answer as possible in these rant uncuts, right? Jarrett Hurd and the Charlos, they all have this, they haven't had too many big, high-quality fights, okay? Not too many. Their road to success has been very similar. They've all beaten Austin Trout. Jermall Charlo, he beat Lubin. Jermall Charlo, he had Julian Williams. And Jarrett Hurd, he had Laura. You know, really, that's their claim to fame, kind of. Those were the fights that separated them three as being next-level fighters, okay? Except for Jarrett Hurd beat Tony Harrison, and Tony Harrison beat Jermall Charlo. That's the only difference. This is how I feel about their level of competition. I think Laura is the best fighter out of all of the opponents that they've had. And I think when Jermall Charlo didn't want to fight Laura, it was for a reason beyond the fact that they shared the same trainers or whatever. I think, you know, they've sparred with each other and many times, and Jermall Charlo knew that Laura would handle him. I really feel that he knew that Laura would handle him. And when you look at how Jermall Charlo kind of struggled against Austin Trout, how he kind of struggled against Tony Harrison, you can see why Laura would be a bad fight for him. Now, style makes fights, and because Jarrett Hurd beat Laura in a very close fight, because he beat Lara doesn't mean that I think Jarrett Hurd would beat Jermall Charlo. Actually, on the contrary, I think Jermall Charlo would beat Jarrett Hurd. And here's why. Here's why. Hear me out. Jarrett Hurd, he has a tough chin. I mean, his head is as big as my torso, okay? He has a tough chin. He's a juggernaut. He walks through punches, and he wears you out, okay? Slick fighters cannot deal with him. He is heavy-chinned, like I said, but he takes up half the ring because he's just a big junior middleweight. So slick fighters, pop shot and trying to move, they cannot get out the way long enough. Jarrett Hurd will work on you and chop you down, okay? So, but those slick fighters, they do well against the Charlos, all right? If you stay disciplined, if you're slick, if you're accurate, if you have quick hands, if you have good head movement, footwork, you can do well against a Charlo. All right, so, but I think in order to beat Jarrett Hurd, you have to fight him and make him fight going backwards. And I think Jermell Charlo would be good at that. Jarrett Hurd is not hard to hit. His chin is not hard to find. And Jermell Charlo packed the physicality, the punching power, the speed, enough accuracy to land flush on Jarrett Hurd. And Jermell Charlo landing flush on Jarrett Hurd is different than Lara landing flush on Jarrett Hurd. You have to fight Jarrett Hurd, and I think Jermell Charlo fights well. And I think he has the size to at least rival Jarrett Hurd. He's also a pretty big junior middleweight. So I think he can push Jarrett Hurd backwards. I think he can make Jarrett Hurd back up. I think he can back him up. And with that being said, I give the edge to Jermell Charlo. I think it'll be a great fight, though, because Jermell Charlo, he doesn't move his head well. And I think Jarrett Hurd, though he starts slow, he will be finding success early in that fight because unlike when he fought Austin Trout or when he fought Lara, he will be landing early in that fight against Jermell Charlo. But just like Jarrett Hurd, Jermell Charlo has one heck of a chin. Both Charlos got one heck of a chin. Okay, so I think with Jermell Charlo's fighting style, his size, his chin, his aggression, his power, he has a lot of power. I still think that he would beat Jarrett Hurd. I think a slick fighter, though, give Jermell Charlo hell. Okay, with that being said, if Jarrett Hurd was to move up after fighting Jermell Charlo and maybe taking a loss or a close fight, he moves up to fight Jermall Charlo, I see the same thing happening there, especially if Jermell Charlo beats him, okay? Because Jermall Charlo, they're twins, the way they work. Jermall Charlo will come out even more aggressive, okay? So I think both Charlos would beat Jarrett Hurd. And it has nothing against Jarrett Hurd. Fantastic fighter. So are the Charlos. I just think in order to beat Jarrett Hurd, you have to rival his size, rival his chin, and possess the type of pop that will make Jarrett Hurd go backwards. You have to fight him and push him back. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think Jarrett Hurd can beat both of the Charlos? Do you disagree or do you agree with me? I love the way you guys comment what you've been saying when it's been, you know, constructive. I love those comments below, so keep doing that. Let me know what you think. And ShowBizz the dope. I'm out. Huh.